All right, Bills Mafia, let's set the scene for the new season, because one of the biggest under-the-radar storylines of Buffalo right now isn't about Josh Allen's deep ball or whether the defense can hold up against the AFC's best. It's about special teams. That's right. The third phase of the game that most fans casually skip over in conversation is taking center stage in the Bills' 2025 formula for success. And if you've been following this team the last couple of years, you already know why. Special teams, once a steady and sometimes even dominant force in Buffalo, have stumbled. Kick coverage has been leaky, the return game inconsistent, and the kicking and punting units have had more than their share of bad days. In a league where games are constantly decided by a single possession, that's a dangerous weakness. So, when Sean McDermott made the decision to move on from Matthew Smiley after back-to-back down years, it wasn't just a small change. It was a loud statement. Enter Chris Tabor, the man now tasked with flipping the script. If you're not familiar with Tabor, you might be surprised at just how much experience he brings to the table. We're talking over a decade in the NFL running special teams, stops in Chicago, Cleveland, and Carolina, and even brief stints as an interim head coach. This is not a rookie learning on the fly. This is a veteran coach who's been trusted in critical situations by multiple franchises, and that pedigree alone gives Buffalo a different energy going into camp. McDermott even compared bringing Tabor aboard to the time he hired Aaron Kromer to overhaul the offensive line, an admission that experience matters when you're trying to fix a problem that's been hanging over your roster. For years, McDermott had leaned on first-time coordinators in this role. That experiment is over. Now, he's got a proven voice who's worked with the likes of Devin Hester, Phil Dawson, and other standout specialists. Players around the league clearly respect him, too. The NFLPA recently ranked him the #2 special teams coordinator in the league. That kind of endorsement doesn't happen by accident. The coaching change is the headline, but it's far from the only shift. The Bills have seen several familiar faces exit the unit this offseason, opening the door for new blood. Punter Sam Martin is gone, creating both a roster hole and some welcome salary cap relief. Tight end Quentin Morris, who quietly logged the second-most special teams snaps last season, has moved on to Jacksonville. Linebacker Nicholas Morrow is out. Balen Spector, despite ranking high in snaps played in this phase, was waived/injured and eventually reached a settlement. Even receiver Mac Hollins, who some fans may have thought was a bigger special teams contributor than he really was, is no longer in the mix. When you add it all up, that's a decent chunk of playing time that's now up for grabs. And yet, for all the departures, the cupboard isn't bare. In fact, the Bills bring back more core special teamers than some might expect. Reggie Gilliam, the Swiss Army knife fullback who lives for delivering one monster hit year that gets replayed on the highlight shows, returns after leading the team in snaps in this phase. Cornerback Jamarcus Ingram, who might have been the most consistent special teams player on the roster last season, is back to battle for a spot. Cam Lewis, whose versatility in the secondary keeps him valuable beyond special teams, still figures prominently. Linebacker Joe Andre is poised for an expanded role, and young defenders like Javon Solomon and Cole Bishop could continue carving out their niches here, even while developing at their primary positions. The depth chart puzzle is still being solved, but it's clear McDermott and Tabor have plenty of options to replace those lost snaps. Whether it's a blocking tight end like Jackson Haas stepping in for Morris, a big-bodied receiver such as Tyrell Shavers fighting his way onto the roster with special teams value, or rangy edge players like Landon Jackson bringing length and athleticism to the new kickoff formations, there are battles brewing all over camp. Even the defensive backfield offers candidates, with rookies like Jordan Hancock and Dorian Strong eyeing roles that could solidify their roster spots before they ever see heavy defensive reps. Of course, when you talk special teams, you can't ignore the skill positions within that phase: returners, kickers, and punters. That's where things get complicated. At returner, Brandon Codrington currently looks like the best pure option, but his lack of value from scrimmage could make it hard to justify a roster spot if others can do the job adequately. KJ Hamler brings speed, but has a history of ball security issues. Laviska Shenault intrigues with his physicality and ability to contribute on coverage units, though he's inexperienced returning punts. Then there's Daquan Hardy, who flashes potential but still has to prove he can avoid costly mistakes. If the Bills wanted to, they could lean on proven hands like Khalil Shakir for punts and turn to a backfield combo of Ty Johnson and Ray Davis on kickoffs. It wouldn't be flashy, but it might be the safest play. Special teams, after all, are often more about avoiding disaster than chasing glory. The kicking situation is equally worth watching. Tyler Bass, long thought to be one of the steadier legs in the league, is now dealing with a somewhat unusual injury, pelvic soreness, that has kept him out of practice for weeks. The team has brought in rookie Caden Davis as insurance, but if Bass's recovery drags, general manager Brandon Beane may need to get creative. One name to watch is Atlanta's Younghoe Koo, who could be available if he loses a camp battle to German newcomer Lenny Krieg. Koo has a long track record of accuracy despite a down year in 2024, and if the Bills suddenly find themselves without a reliable kicker, he'd be a logical target. And then there's the punter position. With Martin gone, Buffalo is rolling with Brad Robbins, a former Bengals draft pick whose rookie year was statistically rough. That said, early preseason glimpses in Buffalo have been encouraging. Solid hang time, a few well-placed punts inside the 20, and respectable averages. It's not realistic to expect the Bills to stumble upon an all-pro punter at this stage of the summer, but if Robbins can be steady and handle holding duties without hiccups, the team will happily take competence over volatility. When you zoom out, what you see is a franchise that's serious about winning on the margins. McDermott knows that in January, the difference between moving on and going home can be a single field position battle or a special teams blunder. With a seasoned coach in Tabor, a mix of returning stalwarts and hungry newcomers, and a willingness to make tough calls at kicker, punter, and returner, the Bills are giving themselves a shot to turn a recent weakness into a quiet strength. And if that happens, it could be one of the hidden reasons this team takes another step forward in 2025. Because it's one thing to talk about coaching resumes, returning players, and possible replacements, but it's another thing entirely to imagine those units on the field in a tight AFC battle when every yard matters. The Bills are walking into 2025 with an understanding that this phase cannot simply be good enough anymore. It needs to become a strength, or at the very least, a consistent and reliable part of their weekly performance, something that can help win a game instead of just avoiding mistakes. That requires not only better execution, but also better planning and smarter personnel usage. And Chris Tabor's fingerprints are already starting to show on those decisions. One of the most intriguing aspects of this overhaul is how the new kickoff rules and formations in the league this year are changing the way teams construct their coverage units. No longer is it just about having a few gunners and a wall of big body blockers. Now, there's a premium on players who can cover ground quickly, close in space, and still bring the kind of physicality needed to stop a returner in his tracks. That's why edge defenders like Javon Solomon and Landon Jackson are suddenly more valuable in this role than they might have been a few years ago. Their length, tackling radius, and closing speed are perfect for these plays, and Tabor seems to understand the advantage of having defensive linemen who move like linebackers. On the other side of that equation is the return game, which, if we're honest, has been one of Buffalo's most inconsistent areas the past couple of seasons. Even in games where the blocking looks sharp, decision-making from the returner, whether to fair catch, let the ball bounce, or bring it out, has cost the Bills hidden yardage that turned into longer fields for Josh Allen and the offense. Tabor's philosophy here is likely to lean toward reliability first, explosiveness second. That means the player who wins the job will be the one who can secure the ball, read the coverage correctly, and give the offense a clean start without making coaches hold their breath on every kick. That's why Brandon Codrington is such a fascinating case. He might not contribute on offense or defense, but he has the most polished return skills in the building right now. The question becomes whether that one specialized skill is worth a roster spot when the team has multi-role players who can give you solid, if not spectacular, production back there. Laviska Shenault, for example, could offer kick return value while also playing as a gadget receiver and covering punts. KJ Hamler's top-end speed could be a weapon, but his history with fumbles is hard to ignore. Even a young option like Daquan Hardy has shown flashes, but in the NFL, Flashes don't survive the final cutdown unless they come with consistency. If the Bills end up playing it safe, Khalil Shakir taking punts, and a rotation of Ty Johnson and Ray Davis on kickoffs would not be a surprise. Shakir is calm under pressure, handles the football cleanly, and has enough vision to grab an extra 10 yards when the opportunity's there. Johnson and Davis, meanwhile, are decisive runners who can lower the shoulder and get the offense to at least the 25 without dancing. It might not make highlight reels, but it would give the offense predictable starting field position. And sometimes predictability is exactly what you want in special teams. Of course, no discussion about special teams in Buffalo right now can avoid the uncertainty surrounding Tyler Bass. For years, Bass has been one of those kickers who made fans feel secure when the game came down his right leg. His range, confidence, and knack for delivering in the cold and wind of Western New York made him a perfect fit for this team. That's why the news about pelvic soreness hit like a cold splash of water. This is not an injury you hear about often with kickers, and because it's affecting his ability to practice, the team has to be cautious. He hasn't been able to get his normal preseason reps, and those repetitions matter for timing with a holder and long snapper as much as they do for his own rhythm. The signing of rookie Caden Davis out of Mississippi is a short-term safeguard, but Davis is a complete unknown at the NFL level. His college numbers show a solid but not spectacular accuracy rate, particularly from 40 yards and beyond. And while it's true that college hash marks make certain kicks harder, the leap from Saturdays to Sundays is still steep. The real entry comes from outside Buffalo. If Younghoe Koo really does lose his job in Atlanta to German newcomer Lenny Krieg, Brandon Beane might have an opportunity to swoop in and grab a proven veteran who has been one of the league's most accurate kickers for most of his career. A move like that would not only protect the Bills from an extended base absence, but could even create internal competition that pushes everyone to sharpen their game. The punter position is equally interesting, if not quite as urgent. Brad Robbins' rookie season in Cincinnati was, frankly, rough. By EPA per punt, he was at the bottom of the league. But punting is a role where a change of scenery, coaching, and system fit can make a world of difference. Early in camp and in preseason action, Robbins has shown more consistency, better directional control, and enough hang time to let coverage units do their job. Special teams coaches will tell you that a punter doesn't have to be a leg cannon to be valuable. He just needs to be reliable and work well with the coverage design. If Robbins can consistently pin opponents deep and avoid those back-breaking shanks, he'll more than earn his keep. What makes this special teams rebuild so compelling is how many roster battles are being influenced by it. The final receiver spot might go to a guy who's barely targeted all year simply because he's a difference maker on kick coverage. The sixth linebacker, slot, might belong to an undrafted rookie because he shows up on film as a fearless tackler on punt returns. Even the choice of backup defensive backs will be shaped by their willingness and ability to play on these units. Every coach says special teams matter, but the teams that actually live by that, giving real weight to those roles when making roster decisions, are the ones that consistently win the field position battle. That readiness starts now, in August, in every meeting, every drill, every roster cut that favors a player who can cover a kick or make a tackle in space. It's the unglamorous work that rarely makes headlines in camp, but often decides who's still playing in January. The Bills know they have the star quarterback, they have the defense that can keep games close, and they have playmakers on offense who can break a game open. What they've been missing is that hidden edge in the margins. If Tabor and this revamped special teams unit can deliver it, the 2025 Bills might just find themselves winning games they would have lost a year ago. And in the NFL, that's often the difference between watching the Super Bowl and playing in it. Before we dive back in, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Your support helps us keep delivering the latest Buffalo Bills updates straight to your screen. And hey, don't hold back. Let us know your thoughts on today's news down in the comments. Rumors are swirling in the NFL world as news breaks that Myles Garrett, the star defensive end famously known for his relentless pass-rushing prowess, may be closing a deal with the Buffalo Bills. While nothing has been officially announced by either team, insiders suggest that the Browns' once formidable pass rush force could soon be seen sporting a new shade of blue and white. This potential move would mark a seismic shift in the defensive dynamics of both teams. For years, Garrett has been the cornerstone of the Cleveland Browns defense, terrorizing quarterbacks and energizing fans with his explosive plays. The whispers of his possible transition to Buffalo have sent shockwaves through the league, as the Bills look to bolster their defense and push their Super Bowl aspirations even further. With Garrett's presence, Buffalo's defensive front could become one of the most feared units in the NFL, capable of changing the outcome of games with sheer dominance and disruptive power. While the specifics of the contract remain confidential, sources hint at a lucrative agreement that could secure Garrett's services for multiple seasons, signaling the Bills' commitment to building a championship-caliber defense. Fans and analysts alike are eagerly watching for confirmation as this potential blockbuster deal unfolds. Should Myles Garrett indeed don the Bills' jersey, the implication for the Browns would be profound. Losing a player of Garrett's caliber could force Cleveland to rethink their defensive strategy entirely, as he has been a pivotal part of their pass rush for years. The Browns, known for their tenacity and physical play, might face a significant challenge in replacing the void left by Garrett's departure. This rumored transfer could spark a flurry of activity in the trade and free agency markets as Cleveland seeks to reinforce its defensive line with new talent. The Browns' coaching staff and management are likely already considering various contingency plans to mitigate the loss, but few players possess Garrett's unique blend of speed, power, and instinct. Meanwhile, the fans who have grown accustomed to witnessing Garrett's electrifying plays might be left wondering if the Browns' defense can maintain its intensity without him. As the buzz around this deal intensifies, the Browns' locker room dynamics could also shift, with teammates adjusting to a new leadership structure on defense. All eyes remain glued to the developments, as this possible move could redefine the competitive balance between these two AFC contenders. On the Buffalo Bills side, acquiring a player like Myles Garrett could be the missing piece in their quest for NFL supremacy. The Bills have consistently been contenders in recent years, but have faced setbacks against elite offenses and quarterbacks who can neutralize their pass rush. Adding Garrett would drastically increase their ability to pressure opposing QBs, disrupt offensive rhythm, and create game-changing turnovers. Buffalo's defensive coordinator would have a newfound weapon to deploy, allowing for more aggressive blitz packages and versatile schemes that could confuse opposing offenses. Furthermore, Garrett's leadership and experience could elevate the entire defensive unit, inspiring younger players and fostering a culture of resilience and competitiveness. The Bills' front office appears willing to invest heavily in defense, and the speculation around Garrett's signing reflects that strategic direction. This potential acquisition would not only boost Buffalo's defensive stats, but also send a message to the league that the Bills are serious about winning it all. As the offseason progresses, the Bills fan base buzzes with excitement and anticipation over the prospect of seeing one of the game's most feared pass rushers anchoring their defense. From a league-wide perspective, the Myles Garrett to Bills rumor has sparked intense debate among analysts and commentators. Some argue that this move would solidify the Bills as favorites to claim the AFC Championship, given the impact a dominant pass rusher can have on high-stakes games. Others caution that such a transition could be fraught with challenges, including the need for Garrett to adapt to a new defensive system and develop chemistry with his new teammates. The broader NFL community recognizes that trades or signings of this magnitude can alter the trajectory of multiple franchises, shifting playoff projections and forcing rivals to reconsider their own roster moves. Additionally, the financial implications of a blockbuster contract could affect the Bills' salary cap, potentially limiting their ability to sign other key players. Meanwhile, betting markets and fantasy football enthusiasts have already started adjusting their predictions to account for Garrett's rumored relocation. The ripple effects of this possible deal extend beyond just the Browns and Bills, influencing draft strategies, free agency decisions, and even coaching philosophies across the league. As the rumor mill churns, the NFL landscape braces for a potential seismic shift brought on by one of the sport's most electrifying defensive talents. Ultimately, whether Myles Garrett's move to the Buffalo Bills becomes a reality remains to be seen, but the mere possibility has ignited a frenzy of speculation and excitement. This rumored transaction epitomizes the high-stakes chess match that is NFL roster building, where a single player's decision can reverberate throughout the league. Fans from both Cleveland and Buffalo watch closely, torn between hope and concern as the off-season drama unfolds. The media is saturated with commentary, rumors, and insider reports, each adding fuel to the fire of anticipation. If the deal is confirmed, it could redefine not only Garrett's career trajectory, but also the fortunes of two AFC powerhouses. Meanwhile, Garrett himself remains a central figure in the narrative, his next move eagerly awaited by teammates, coaches, and supporters. As the countdown to the official announcement continues, the buzz around this potential blockbuster deal grows louder, reminding everyone why the NFL offseason can be as thrilling as the games themselves. This story is far from over, and the coming days promise to deliver clarity or perhaps even more surprises in this evolving saga. That's a wrap for now. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay on top of all things Buffalo Bills, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. We'd love to hear what you think in the comments. See you in the next update.